one of the things that I was really interested in talking to you about is I know that you've kind of transitioned into a management role recently, and I was curious if, because I'm a big project management geek. I love the project management process and the tools and the people interaction and the teamwork and stuff. Moving from a engineering role to a management role, has that changed any of your perceptions of project management?
Yo, that's such a good question. Because before I joined Texas, so I've been at Texas for almost 2 years now. I was at a very small nonprofit in Pittsburgh for 5 years as the lead web developer. And I always kind of have to laugh at that title. There was two web developers, and I was not the lead of the other one. So like, I will forever, hold on to that title. It looks good on LinkedIn, but it's kind of a lie. I was the back end developer at that place. And so we kind of we were using a sprint cycle. So it was like a very lightweight, it was agile with a lowercase a, I would say at that
Right.
place. And so I had some appreciation for it, but with two developers, like you really can manage that pretty well. So coming to Texas, they use a Kanban process. And so that's been a learning curve for me, but I quite like it because the developers have control over their prioritization and being able to choose what tickets they're going to work on. Now, the thing that I'm currently tackling is as we grow out the team, the tough part is estimates, because it's no longer acceptable to be like, we'll let you know when it's done. Now people want to know exactly when it's going to be done. So if you have any thoughts around that, I'm interested, and I'm curious like how bought in you are to an agile process or whatever you use.
Well, well, first off, one of the things that I've learned is that there is no silver bullet process. It has to be adjusted to the team and the project that you're working on. So it's good to know all of these processes, the book learning, so that you can take the bits from them and put them together to make the right system for this team. But there's just no silver bullet one. So I like agile as a concept, but capital A agile, I have never done, as the books do.
Yeah.
Because it just, there's always one part or the other that just isn't going to work in this situation.
Is it weird that I want to get certified as a Scrum Master just to say that I am?
Not at all.
I mean, it just sounds kind of cool. Like, I almost want to see what the process is, because it's like, it's not that Agile is like a religion. Maybe it is, but
to some people, I guess.
Yeah, to some people it is. I mean, it would almost be kind of fun to go undercover and just like see that world, because people do take it really seriously. And I just can't imagine a world where that would be my only job, just because I do so many things, but I work at a startup. And so I've never really had that like big corporate experience. You work for a very big company, right? So like there are people who probably are solely devoted to the project management process.
Right. But I grew up in small. I grew up in small businesses, so I learned a lot of that from the necessity of having to, when I started growing the teams at the small businesses, I had to figure out how to manage them, because we didn't have enough hats in the building to be a project manager. So you learn that stuff, and then when I started working in the large corporate environment, a lot of those lessons translated really well to, hey, we've got a much bigger team and we're not doing a real good job of organizing things here. Here's some ways we can help this. So,
do you have a favorite project management tool?
I don't know that I have a favorite one. I have some that I very much dislike. Hey,
Jira?
Thanks for joining us, Aaron. Jira. Yeah,
I had to go for the trope.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the fence about that. It's simply because I've had to use it so much out of, no choice of mine. It's not the one I would choose, but there are a lot of people. What I've learned is, even in big corporations, there are a lot of people who do project management in Excel, and that flabbergasted me.
I will tell you that most of the departments at my company do that. We don't in engineering, but it is incredible how many times people are like, oh, let me share this, Google sheet with you. And I'm like, oh no, this needs to be translated into a ticket. Like this is just not a trackable thing. And
Right.
I think that, to your point, like Excel is like a comfort. It is a blanket, isn't it? People are just so comfortable with
Well,
it.
it's the hammer and the nail.
It
I've
is.
learned how to use this hammer, so I'm going to use it to beat everything.
Well, I'm going to turn every problem into a nail. I don't care what it takes. That's going to be a nail.
I have gotten UX designs done in Excel before. I have. Like, it is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it can be done.
Feel good about it. It can be done.
But that's not a world I want to live in.
No. Now, what's your take on whether or not developers should be able to know far down the line what they're going to be working on, or should you give them the space to only think about the thing that they're working on now?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
So
I would imagine there's some.
Me,
I imagine that there's some that want to know what the path is, because sometimes maybe they just want to get comfortable with, all right, well, next week I'm going to be working on this, and then down the line we're going to be doing this. And some of them may want to know that so that they can incorporate, maybe they like knowing that because that may inform or adjust how they're doing things today. Whereas I bet some are just like, give me the task, do the task. All right, I'm done,
Yeah, I think it has to do, like you said, I think it has a lot to do with personalities. There are people that I just want to put the blinders on and do this thing. I want to figure out this problem, and that's all I want to think about. Most people that I've run into in my career have been, and this is how I think of it, I want to know where the finish line is, but don't tell me how to get there. Right? So I want to be able to have some autonomy to figure out what are the priorities? How do I get there? Which things should I work on first? How should I put this together? Who should I reach out to work things? But I want to know what the finish line is so that I can make sure that I'm rowing the boat in the right direction. Right? Because I might be doing something really, really cool that has absolutely no benefit to the final project.
It's so true. And as someone who is newly taken up rowing, I love your analogy. Really quite terrible at rowing, but I love that analogy. And I like what you said too about who should I be reaching out to in order to get this project done, because that's something that I'm really trying to work on as an engineering manager. I love to have control, and I love to be the grease between the wheels, and I love to keep things moving. But I'm really trying to work towards not always being that person and give the developers the autonomy to work with other people within the organization. And so you're right. It's having those really clear requirements so that the developers can get to that place. But I think I struggle too. Like, our developers will see easy wins and they'll message me and they'll be like, hey, should I like knock this out? Like, I see this like win that I can take. And the answer is always yes. It's just knowing that that's an easy win and it's not going to cause a regression is, always a question there. But you want them to get those quick wins because I've noticed long running projects drain a developer out. No matter how exciting the project is, you have to give them hope that there is something at the end of the tunnel.
Right. Well, and that's why I think, kind of sprint-based agile stuff is really good, because at the end of a week or 2 weeks or whatever your sprint is, usually they're a week or 2 weeks, I've got a thing. It's not the finish line, but it's a thing and it means something, and it can be used.
It does something.
Right.
And it works as opposed to not working for months.
Right. Yeah. As opposed to,
finding out you built the wrong thing.
Right.
And it took you months.
And that's part of what burned me out is because, I was climbing Mount Everest and then had to climb K2 and then had to climb in the Himalayas. And then, I was constantly mountain climbing and never getting to the peaks. And that's just exhausting, and you have to have these broken out things, which is one of the reasons I like Agile so much, is this concept of story-based design where I've got this unique unit, this finite unit of stuff that I can do in a very short period of time, and I know what it all looks like. And then all of these things can be put together for the final project. But this thing has value, and I can, I've got a big green check mark with a gold star by it at the end of the week. I've done something. And that's really important for people, for human beings.
If you like this clip and want to watch another one, you can click right here. Or if you want to watch the full video, you can click here.